Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video is our Monday Scrap Happy project, and we're going to make these floppy-eared spring bunnies. Now you'll notice they're not the same size. This one's bigger. That's because I put in the pattern some different options and making it smaller or bigger. This one is stitched using a bulky 5 yarn and a 6mm J hook. This one is stitched up using super bulky 6 and an 8mm crochet hook. So if you have lots of scraps yarn that you want to use, you certainly can. You could even use your medium weight number 4 and use a 5mm crochet hook and make one that's even smaller. This one measures about 12 inches tall. This one's about 14 inches tall. So lots of options. And these are so much fun to make because you can mix and match your yarns. Just make sure you stay within the same yarn weight on each of them. If you mix the yarn weights, it's going to look a little wonky. They're just so much fun to work with. They have nice cotton tails. I chose to go with spring yarn. So using up all your spring yarns, and you don't have to. You could use all beiges and browns, or you could do it all, whatever colors that you want to. The only thing that I suggest is I use safety eyes. If you're going to make this for a small child that might pull those safety eyes out, you might want to just use some French knots or embroidery some little circles on there or something. But I love using the safety eyes on my stuffies. So, super fun, super easy, because once we increase, you do the same all the way down until we decrease at the bottom. And these are great for play, great for putting in Easter baskets, and also just lots of fun for decorating around your house around Easter and spring, because when I think of spring, I think of bunnies. So this is our Scrap Happy floppy-eared spring bunny crochet pattern. Now you can find the complete pattern with all the notes on my blog and also lots of pictures. And I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. So this project is what you would call the ultimate in scrapping. This bunny here is made with super bulky number 6 yarn. And this one here is what we're going to use as our demo today, is made with just bulky number 5 yarn. So this can be done with either yarns, and that gives you some options within your yarn stash. Now, you want to use the same weight for the entire project, so don't mix and match bulky 6, bulky 5, okay? So, if you're going to make it out of your maybe blanket yarn or super bulky 6 yarns, you're going to need to use your L hook, which is an 8mm. If you're going to use up your just bulky 5s, we're going to be stitching with our J hook, which is a 6mm. And this is the one we're going to do today. I wanted to show you this one because you can also do this exactly the same. The only difference is you're using super bulky 6 and an 8mm crochet hook. All right, so the amount that you're going to need is approximately 4 ounces or 3.5 ounces. But just get in your yarn stash and see what colors that you have. You can see we use some variegated, some solid, some sort of mottled here. The yellow is also a little bit mottled. You just can't tell it because of the color of the yellow. But you can see on the ears, we used pink and purple. Yellow flower. You're going to need a decorative button to put in the center of your flower. This one, I'm going to be making the flower out of the purple, I think. I might change my mind. And I'm going to use this bright green one. I think it'll look really cute with what I have going on here. And then you're going to need a ribbon, and I cut about an 18 to 20 inch piece of ribbon. Now this one is a little bit thicker. It's 3/4 of an inch, and I still did the 18 to 20 inch piece, but I wanted a thicker ribbon because this is a thicker yarn. This one here is a little bit thinner. It looks like maybe 3/8. I don't know. I thought it was super pretty because it has like a sort of a thin with a gold line and then a little bit thicker. And I thought it would look pretty since I do have some purple yarn in this one, along with this variegated that's pink and purple. All right, so you need a ribbon, a decorative flower, button. And I like these ones where it has the loop on the bottom. I think it works better for this project, but of course you can use any button that you want. Now we're going to need a set of safety eyes. And I will tell you, if you're making this for a small child, you might want to just embroider some eyes on with some French knots or something else because these can be pulled out. I am going to show you how to put them on so they'll be nice and secure, but they can be pulled out. Now this one here is a little bit smaller than what I put in this one. I don't have the exact sizes because I bought a bag that has a whole bunch of different sizes in it, and I bought that off Amazon. It was a nice big bag, had a whole bunch of different sizes. There's some that are even bigger than this and some that are even smaller than this, down to like a bead size, okay? But these are just two that I had on hand. These actually are brown with a black pupil. I don't know if you can see that. And these here are just a solid black. All right. So what you're going to need, you're going to need your crochet hook. You're going to need your yarn. We talked about that. Safety eyes, 18 to 20 inches of ribbon. You're going to need some polyester fiber fill stuffing. And it's up to you how much stuffing you want to put in them. These I stuffed pretty tight because of the shape. It's a tall cylinder and I want it to be able to sit up for decoration and also hold up to being played with. Okay, then we need our decorative button. And you're going to need 1 stitch marker. Okay, and this is my favorite kind, these jellies. Because we're not going to be joining our rows, we're going to be stitching in the round. And you'll need to mark each row as you go up so that you don't lose count. So you'll need 1 stitch marker. And we'll be doing that on the body of the bunny, okay? You're going to need a needle for weaving in ends and attaching your ears and your flower, sewing on the little nose, things like that. All right, and then of course you're going to need a pair of scissors. So I think I have covered everything. And again, you're going to need approximately 4 ounces of your super bulky 6 or 3.5 ounces of your bulky 5. And again, 6 inch for bulky 5, 6 millimeter hook for the bulky 5, and your 8 millimeter for super bulky 6. And these are a little bit smaller than what you would use when you're making things like a blanket or something, but we want our stitches to be nice and tight so that stuffing doesn't show through. All right, so I've got my yarn I'm going to start with. I've got my stitch marker and my J hook, which is a 6 millimeter, because this yarn is a medium weight number 5. All right, so we're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 5 and join that into a circle. And again, as I always say, if you'd rather use the magic circle, magic ring, or some other way of making your beginning ring, it's totally fine. All right, so we're going to go in, pull up a loop, and chain 1. Now we're going to stitch 10 single crochets in this loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now you'll notice that I stitched over this tail of yarn. That's so that I can pull that and close that hole up. All right, so I stitched 10 single crochets. I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to mark that last stitch. Now some people prefer to mark the first stitch of each row. I like to mark the last one, But that again is up to you and your preference. Now I pulled this loop big because I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my needle and weave this end in, closing up my hole. And the reason I do it now is because it'll be more difficult as we work to get the hole closed up, because we'll have to go up inside of the bunny head. Okay? Because we're starting with the top of the bunny and working our way down. Alrighty, let me get that in just a little bit more. We just want to make sure that's not going to come undone. And I'm not even going to worry about clipping that off because that's going to be on the inside of our bunny body. Alright, so for round 1, we have 10 single crochets, and we mark that last single crochet with our stitch marker. Alright, let's do round 2. Now, what we're going to do is we're not going to join. We're going to go right in that first single crochet, and we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. All right, and then we're going to stitch 2 single crochets in each of those 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we'll do this all the way back around, stitching 2 single crochets in each of our 10. I've taken my stitch marker out. This is my last 2 stitches, and this will be 19 and 20. And then I'll put my stitch marker back in on that last stitch. Now I am stitching this a little bit tightly because I don't want any of my stuffing to show through when I go to stuff my bunny. All right? All right, so now let's do row 3. On row 3, we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the next single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in the next. So 1, 2, so that makes 3, 4, 1 in the next, 5, 6, 2 in the next. So we're alternating 1 and 2. 1 and 1, 2, and we'll repeat this all the way around. And I know it looks a little bit flat right now, but don't worry. It'll round out as we move down the body of our bunny. So for round 3, we're doing 1 and 2 in the next. So I have repeated 1 and 2 all the way around. Here's my last stitch. I took my stitch marker out, and we're going to stitch 2 single crochets in that last stitch, and then I'll I will put my stitch marker back in. Like I said, I do like to mark the last stitch of each row. All right, now we're going to do round 4. And round 4 is just a little bit different. We're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll stitch 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. So that gives us 6. Now we're going to repeat that. 1 single crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 single crochets in the next. And that's our repeat for round 4. And you're going to notice on this row that it's going to start curling down. Okay? Because now we're going to start forming the head portion of our bunny. So we're going to repeat 1 single crochet in the next 4 and 2 in the next, back around to our stitch marker. So I repeated that, 1 single crochet in the next 4, 2 in the next, all the way around, and we're going to have 36 single crochets. And then I marked my last single crochet with my stitch marker. Now for row 5, all we're going to do is stitch 1 single crochet in each of those single crochets all the way around. We're not going to do any more increasing. One single crochet in each of those single crochets, working all the way around. I stitched one single crochet in each of my single crochets around, and you can see it's already starting to curl down to form the top of our bunny. All right, I marked my last stitch, and now I'm just going to repeat that and stitch one single crochet in each of the single crochets around. And as you do this, you're going to begin forming the sides of our bunny. And see how it's curling down? That's exactly what we want it to do. And so what you're going to do is you're going to repeat row 5, which was one single crochet in each of our single crochets around, and you're going to repeat that for 22 more rows. And it's up to you how many times that you change your colors. And remember, if you're doing a bulky number 5 using our J hook, you need to continue to do that. If you're using the L hook, which is an 8mm, and the super bulky like the blanket yarn, you need to continue to do that. You can switch your colors as often as you want to. Just make sure you keep your fiber the same, your crochet hook the same, and your weight the same of your yarn so that it has a consistent look. All right? And so we're going to repeat row 5 for 22 more rows, which is just one single crochet in each of our single crochets around. So this is what it looks like. I've changed colors several times. You can see I've got variegated, I've got solids, just different colors. I tried to stay with some of the spring colors so that it would look like a spring bunny. All right, so I've got 27 rows, and before we start doing our decrease rows, we want to put the safety eyes on. So what I do is I just make a nice big loop so that doesn't come undone. All right, so what you need to do is decide where you want the front of your bunny to be. Okay, and I think I'm going to do mine right here. I don't know, let me look. I try to find the spot where I have the least amount of color changes. All right, this looks good to me. So I'm going to count down to about the 8th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About right here. And what you want to do when you put your eyes in is you want to try to go in a stitch. And that means, see where we have the little V portions of our stitch? You're going to want to put your eye right into that stitch. And that's going to help it be secure. Then we'll go in here and put the back on, and you push it on till you hear the snap. There we go. Let's see. I think I'll make these eyes just a little bit farther out than I did. Well, I like it right there. I'm going right in that single crochet stitch. Let me go on the inside and show you. Put the back on till you hear the snap. All right. So now I have the eyes on, and this will make it a lot easier when it's time to stuff it and everything, not have to like cram my hand up inside a small opening. Okay, and of course eye placement is totally up to you. You might want it higher up, you might want it lower down. Now we're going to begin some of the decrease rows in order to close up the bottom of our bunny. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to stitch the next 2 together in a single crochet decrease. So we're going to go in, pull up a loop, then we'll go in the next one and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, and we'll yarn over and go through all 3 of those, and we'll repeat this around. So 1 single crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then single crochet decrease or stitching 2 single crochets together, and repeat. And we'll repeat this the rest of the way around. So I have repeated that around, and you can see that it's starting to decrease the bottom of our bunny. All right, so now what we're going to do next on row 29 is we're going to single crochet in the next, and then we'll single crochet together the next 2. So we're going to do some major decreasing. So it's 1 single crochet, then single crochet decrease or stitching 2 single crochets together, alternating all the way around. One single crochet, then the single crochet decrease or stitching 2 single crochets together. And you can see, like I said, that you're getting a lot of decrease on this row. See how it's pulling that in? I have completed row 29, alternating a single crochet and a single crochet decrease. All right, and so before we do the last row of decrease, we want to go ahead and stuff the body of our bunny. All right, so we're going to take a little bit, take it all the way up to the head. And again, the amount that you use is up to you. But because of the style of this bunny, I'm putting a lot of stuffing in there because I want it to be able to hold its shape. And I know it doesn't look like a bunny right now, but it will when we're done. All right, I think that's about enough. It's still squishy, but it's tight. All right, so let's do our last row here and close up our bunny. We don't want his stuffing falling out. All right, got my stitch marker caught. All right, so this last row, we're going to stitch all of them together. So they're all single crochets together or single crochet decreases. And I do suggest on this last row, you try to pull those stitches tight. Whoopsie. I'm pulling, so I'm getting it to slide off my hook by accident. All right. But we want to make sure we close up the bottom of our bunny. Push that stuffing in. There we go. And we'll just continue this on around, stitching all of them together. So once you've stitched that row, you're going to have 10 single crochets left. And we're going to grab our scissors and cut this off, but we're going to leave a tail of yarn, and that's because we're going to close up that hole. So I've got my needle, I threaded that on there. We're going to make sure we go in that loop, and we can take that stitch marker out now. Just like that. All right, and now we're just going to go around that row and close up the bottom of our bunny. Alrighty, so we close that up, and I'm going to make a couple stitches across, making sure it's nice and secure, because we know this is going to get played with, and we do not want the bottom of our bunny to come undone. Alright, so just make sure it's secure. There we go, and then I'm just going to go right down in there, swirl that around in some of that stuffing, and come out over on the side. Now, when you're using a needle, make sure that you've got one, there we go, that's got a little bit of a point. If not, you'll have trouble getting through all that stuffing. All right, we'll give it a little pull and a little clip, and then we'll pull that out just a little bit. Now, one thing that you'll notice is it's going to be flat on the top and the bottom, and that's exactly how we want it to look, because we want it to be able to sit up, and then we're going to put the bunny ears on top. But the next thing we're going to do is form the neck of our bunny. To form the neck of our bunny, you're going to count down about 12 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which on mine is about at this green line. Okay, and we're going to go to the back, and you're going to go in and out every couple of stitches. You're going to cut off a piece of yarn that's probably about 18 to 20 inches long and thread it onto your needle. I forgot to tell you that. Make sure you leave a piece out here. And we're just going to go in and out that row every couple of stitches. And this is going to gently form a nice neck onto our bunny. Okay, now we'll take the needle off. And we're going to gently pull that in. And it also shows you the placement of the eyes. All right, and then we're going to tie some very secure knots, because this is going to hold the neck of that bunny. And this is also where we're going to put the ribbon. And I'm tying a lot of knots because I do not want this to come undone. One thing you can do, if you're worried that's going to come undone, put a little dot of fray check or hot glue or maybe E6000, and you have to let it dry with the E6000 because that takes a little longer to dry. But you can do that on that particular knot to keep that from coming undone. All right. So now you can see how the neck is pulled in. We'll put the ribbon on later, okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the bunny ears. I decided I want the bunny ears on this one to be out of this yellow to kind of go along with the yellow that's on the face, okay? All right, so we're going to make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 30 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've chained 30 chains, and this is going to make both of the ears, okay? If you want your floppy ears to be even longer, you can make your chain even longer. All right, so we're going to go in the second chain from the hook, 1, 2, and stitch 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. And now we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of these chains, working all the way across the row. One single crochet in each chain, working all the way across. I've stitched single crochet all the way across till we get to our last chain. We're going to stitch 2 single crochets in that last chain. Now we're going to turn, working down the opposite side of our chain, and we're going to go right in that first one and stitch 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then now we're going to work down this other side, stitching 1 single crochet in each of the single crochets across. We stitch 2 single crochets in that first stitch, and then 1 in each all the way back across, which brings me back where we started, and we're going to stitch 2 single crochets, and we're going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch. Now you can change colors here if you want to. I'm going to. I'm going to bring back in this pretty purple that we've been using for the last row of our ears. Just bring it in. And we're not going to add or subtract any stitches. We're going to chain one and go right in that first stitch. And we're going to stitch one single crochet in each of the single crochets, working all the way around the entire ear. We're going to go all the way down, all the way around, and then all the way back up here and join to that first single crochet. But like I said, if you want your ear to be all one color, or I should say your ears, because this is both ears, then you can leave it the same color. So I have stitched a single crochet all the way around. I'm back where we started. So I'm going to join right in that first single crochet with a slip stitch and cut my yarn. I'll pull that loop to the back so we have a nice finish. There we go. And I do have a few ends here to weave in the back, but this is the way the bunny ears will look. We're going to gather it in the middle, and then we're going to attach it to the top of the bunny's head. All right, so I'm going to take a few minutes and weave these ends in. So I tidied up my bunny ears. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to take a piece of yarn that matches. And we're just going to cinch those ears up in the middle. So now I have two bunny ears. All right, now we're going to take the bunny. And we're going to add this to the top of the head. So I'm going to put my hook in like this and pull one of those strings. And then I'll take the other one and go the opposite direction. There, I can get it on my hook. There we go. And then we're going to go back up across, tie it on snugly. And there's your floppy ears on your floppy-eared bunny. Now, what I like to do, just to make sure it's on there securely, is take these two ends, put it on my needle, go ahead and go through those ears, right along that ribbon edge, and then again go in and swirl around in that stuffing. And we'll do that again with this one. Just a little extra security to make sure those ears are going to stay put. Go right on that ribbon edge where we have the yarn. And again, this works best if you have a needle that is a little bit pointed on the end. Some of the larger needles that have the larger eyes, the needle is blunt. All right, so here's our bunny ears, floppy ears. Let's turn them up. All right, so now we're going to do the little bow or the little flower that goes on top. All right, so to make the flower, it's really easy. We're going to leave a little bit of a tail of yarn, maybe 6 or 8 inches, and make our slip knot. We're going to chain 2, and in the second chain from the hook, we're going to stitch 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to join to this first single crochet with a slip stitch, and we're going to chain 6 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we'll slip stitch in the next single crochet and chain 6. Then we'll slip stitch in the next single crochet and repeat that around. And we'll end up with 6 petals. So I'm on my 6th petal. We're going to slip stitch in that first single crochet and tie off. And again, I'm leaving a long tail. We're going to use these long tails. The first one, we're going to make sure that the hole in the center is closed, because we don't want a hole in the center of our flower. So we're just going to go around there we go. Just make sure that hole is closed up. All right, then we'll take this one and we'll just bring it back to the center. All right, so now we have a flower with 6 petals, and we're going to put this right here to cover up our string, but also make it look pretty on our bunny. All right, so we can use those 2 tails to sew it in place. We'll stick one right through the head. Ouch! All right, and the other one, we're going to go across the top and make a stitch back here. All right, and then we'll just take those 2 tails, we'll pull them nice and tight, hide it there under those bunny ears, and then again we'll just take those tails of yarn and just go right inside the bunny head in that stuffing. There we go. So now we have a pretty flower on top of our bunny's head that hides that string that holds our floppy ears in place. Now this is where we can add the flower if you want to. All right, so I'm just going to grab a little piece of yarn here. I've got some yellow. It's not exactly the same color, but it'll work just fine. All right, so we'll just thread that on there. We'll make a little loop to hold that in place. Because we're just sewing it through the flower, not the whole bunny head. And then we'll just sew it on there. And weave those ends in. And then we'll hide our knot behind the flower. I should say behind the button. My button is a flower button. But we'll just hide our knots behind there. And again, anytime you're adding a button or something like this that you want to use a dab of that fray check or glue, that is totally fine. I just don't like to use glue to hold crochet knots and things like that. All right, so now we have the bunny ears and the pretty flower. So the nose is super easy. We're just going to make a couple of stitches. I've double threaded my medium or my bulky 5 because it's a little bit thin, and so I wanted it to be a little thicker. You can use a beige, a pink, a brown, whatever you want. You just want to center it and make sure you go through stitches and not holes. And I just made a couple of stitches. Kind of make it cutesy. And I went around some of that stuffing and pulled it out the back. All right. I don't want it to pucker his face in, so I'm going to use the back of that to kind of pull that out. And then we'll grab this one and do the same thing. Just pull it in. And out to the back. All right, so it puckered in. Pull his face back out. We don't want our bunny to have a puckered face. So here's the ribbon that I'm going to use, and this is going to cover up where we did the stitching and also make it look super cute. If you don't have ribbon, you can always make a chain, and that will work too, and tie a nice bow. All right, so we're going to pull that in a little bit. And before we make that bow, we're going to go ahead and knot this. And this will keep it from coming undone, because if we just make a bow, that bow might come undone. All right, I'm going to do another little knot. Now that's not coming undone. And then we'll just add a nice little bow to the front. And this one's straight, so I'm going to cut the edge of that crooked. There we go. And now our bunny has a nice purple bow to match the purple flower. And the only thing left that this bunny needs is a tail. We're going to take white, because bunny tails are cotton tails sometimes. And I'm going to cut off a piece of yarn. We'll save that for making the pom-pom, because we're going to make a nice pom-pom. So we're just going to wrap it around our hand a whole bunch of times. And it's up to you how many times you want to wrap it, because it makes it thicker and thicker of a pom-pom. And bunny tails are pretty fluffy, right? All right, that will do it. All right, I'm going to grab my bigger pair of scissors. I remembered to bring them in this time. We're going to set this down. We're going to wrap this around it nice and tight. And if you have a pom-pom maker or a template that you want to use, that's totally fine. This is just a real quick and easy way to make a pom-pom. If you're not worried about it being a certain size, that is. Sometimes we want them a certain size, and so you can use a template or a pom-pom maker. All right, so let's go ahead and cut those loops. And make sure you got a good pair of scissors, because we're using a thick yarn. All right, now I'm going to push it forward. And this is a fuzzy yarn, so I'm probably going to have fuzz flying everywhere. All right, I'm going to give it a shake. All right, and then I'm going to cut again, just to see if there's any of those extra ones. And again, the size of the bunny tail and the pom-pom is totally up to you. And you can even buy a pom-pom pre-made if you want to. All righty, that looks nice. Then I'm going to lay it out flat like this. Make sure you don't cut these tails though, but I'm just checking to see if there's any longer ones I don't like. I'm not looking for perfection, I'm just looking for fun, because the truth is this is going to get played with, and those strings will probably get pulled a little bit, but that's okay, I don't mind. All right, let me move this out of the way, and we'll grab our bunny. Now I know that bunny tails are on the back, but I like to put it on the side. That way it can be seen when it's on, set out for decoration or being played with, okay? So I'm going to put it right here on the side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a couple of stitches. I threaded that on my needle. We'll go that way. Then we'll do the same thing this way. Then I'm going to tie a knot, really nice and secure. There we go. And again, if you want to, oops, if you want to add some fray check to that, you certainly can. But now my bunny has a nice fluffy tail. So when you use a bulky number 5, you get a floppy-eared bunny that's about 12 inches tall. When you use a super bulky 6, my floppy-eared bunny turned out 14 inches tall. So you can get 2 sizes by using 2 different weights of yarn. Now, if you want to do this in a medium number 4 weight, you can, but you'll need to go down and use your H hook, and you'll get one that's approximately 10 inches tall. So lots of options with this fun, scrap happy, floppy-eared spring bunny.